10 years after the horrific murders at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza that ripped the town apart, Charlie, whose father owned a restaurant, and her childhood friends reunite on the anniversary of the tragedy and find themselves at the old pizza place, which had been locked up and abandoned for years. After they discover a way inside, they realize that things are not as they used to be. The 4 adult-sized animatronic mascots that once entertained patrons have changed. They now have a dark secret and a murderous agenda.
Greetings, I am Ng Xin Yee, a Form 5 student in the school named Taman Connaught, and I am from Class 5CT. Today, I will be reviewing a particular fiction book about a horror video game series you might have heard of. Five Nights at Freddy's: The Silver Eyes by Scott Cawthon and Kira Breed-Risley. For some of you who doesn't know what Five Nights at Freddy's is about, it is a horror video game series where the player assumes the role as a night guard in a family pizza restaurant named Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. The player's goal is to survive 5 nights in the restaurant while the 4 hostile animatronic mascots roam around the restaurant and try to obliterate the player. This book, however, is like a spin-off to the Five Nights at Freddy's fandom/franchise. So earlier in the intro, I have set the summary of the story. It is a novel following teenager Charlie and her childhood friends who return to their hometown of Hurricane Utah and found themselves reuniting on the anniversary of the tragedy that happened 10 years ago. They then decided to visit the old pizza place which held the history of the tragedy. Although the restaurant has been abandoned for years, some things, for whatever reason, still in order. Now, this itself wouldn't likely happen in the ordinary, judging by the situation in the story. Especially if you are putting animatronic mascots and murderous agenda in one sentence. I could describe this scenario quite unusual, but I would describe this scenario very traumatizing. We got Charlie and her childhood friends named John, Carlton, Jessica, Lamar, Marla, and Marla's brother, Jason. Everyone is 17 except for Jason, who is 10 to 11 years old in the story. Everyone's sort of gotten traumatized from what happened before 10 years prior, but I would say Charlie has gotten more trauma. Throughout the story, she kept having those flashbacks of the tragedy, and judging by Charlie being the daughter of the owner who owns the restaurant where all the traumatic events were held there, I can feel that she had more connections with the restaurant and cannot let go of the tragedy. The novel really did describe them in detail, especially the way how the author describes their clothes they were wearing and how their character acts. The story is an easy read. Some pages can be quite detailed, but I can read each page just fine while imagining how the scenes go. Would say 10 years old and or above can take it as well, which means 10 years old and above are suitable for reading the story. The story was told in third-person view, like he or she, and then the detail in the settings are quite neat, quite detailed. I can learn more vocabulary and learn how to write detailed paragraphs in my essays. I think it's a pretty good story. Some chapters got me pretty exciting, and the scenes near the ending is pretty dramatic, which I won't spoil, but it's pretty dramatic. In the beginning of the story, it is quite okay. Friends meeting up together in their hometown and reuniting, so I didn't really think too much of it, but it's the plot twist near the ending, which got me excited to flip to the next page to read more. I don't really know if I can extract any life lesson in the book, but what I can say after reading the whole story is it can be quite hard to move on traumatic events, so it's a good idea to stick or speak to people who has experienced the same traumatic events as you. Charlie and the others, they weren't alone to experience the whole entire thing. So, if you're experiencing something that seems traumatizing to you, just please don't be afraid to speak up about it to someone who may have the same experience. It is horrifying, it is scary to talk about this to someone, but you're not alone. And I would recommend this book to any Five Nights at Freddy's fan. And I know the author had written a few books regarding on the Five Nights at Freddy's series, so I would check out another book from the same author as well. This is my review to Five Nights at Freddy's, The Silver Eyes, written by Scott Cotton and Kira Risley. I thank my friend who lended me this book to make this review possible. That is all for me. Thank you.